All right, you shall not murder. We're going to go fast through some of these because a lot of this is very common knowledge. There's 8 statutes that I found. Thou shalt not murder. Obviously, you're not allowed to kill somebody. Plain and simple.
Some people need killing.
Some people do need killing, but murder is taking away a property right without cause.
Maybe there's a cause.
There might be a cause, you're right, but murder is taking away a property right without cause. Okay, if there's a cause, but that ain't my right. I can't take even if I see you murder somebody else in cold blood, I'm not the one to kill you. The court system does it. You see what I'm saying? So I don't have the right to do that. I don't administer justice. That's what the Levitical priesthood was for. That's what the judicial system is for.
Outside of his jurisdiction.
Yes, definitely. Murderers are to be put to death, so this is a capital felony. You are not to stand against the life of your neighbor. So if you have evidence to testify, you're supposed to testify, especially in a capital offense. You shall not kill the murderer before he stands for trial. The manslayer die not until he stands before the congregation in judgment. Everybody gets a trial. Killing for hire is condemned. That means the assassin and the one who hires him are both guilty of murder. Okay, so cursed be he that taketh reward to slay an innocent person. And all the people shall say, amen. They're both guilty. It's a capital felony to murder someone for hire. Unsolved murders has kind of an interesting take on it. The elders and judges of a city, when there's an unsolved murder, shall take a heifer to a rough valley and behead it. The Levites shall investigate diligently and then wash their hands of the murder, asking God to forgive Israel. So there's a process that we're supposed to go through. So if it be known who had slain him, if it not be known who had killed someone, then the elders and judges will go out to a valley, and the elders of that city shall take a heifer and strike off the heifer's neck there in the valley. So they're going to kill a cow. To make a vow. The priest shall come near the city and shall try every word at trial. They went out to where the man that was slain was to do this, and they investigated all the near cities. If they found nothing, then they do the vow. And they make the vow to God. Yes. Yes. It doesn't take care of it. We're supposed to investigate, but the reality is we have hundreds of unsolved murders in America. What do? We have to leave it in God's hands. There's nothing we can do. Well, I personally believe we should.
I do too.
But we're not.
Yeah, but if we did the sacrifices, God would take care of business for us.
I think we'd see a lot more of God's power if we followed all of His commandments than we do now. America, the first lesson I did, I counted up, we started out at about 76% following God's law. We're now at about 26%. When America started, we saw God pretty live and direct. I mean, work in the affairs of America. And now we don't see it anymore. And I think the reason is our obedience. So this doesn't mean they're not going to look. They're going to diligently search, have a trial, and investigate to solve. And after everything's been looked at, now they're going to leave it in God's hands. The elders of the city shall wash their hands over the heifer and proclaim their innocence, saying, we did not do this. And that's them leaving it in God's hands. So we don't do this today, should we? I do believe we should. I think we have every right to do it. It's an eternal statute. Has America ever done it? Is there any nation still doing it? Probably not. But that's probably why we don't. I personally believe this is why we don't see God acting as much as He could. If you remember some of the things George Washington said about America being founded, he clearly described God acting in America to protect His people. America still keeps this law, but with a few exceptions. Abortion is the killing of children. We make an exception for murdering kids for some reason. But this is not passing your seed to Moloch. You guys remember me going over that. This is child sacrifice. The Bible mentions both. It talks about passing your seed through the fire to Moloch, and then they sacrifice their sons and their daughters unto devils and shed innocent blood. So people did both. Okay? To burn their sons and their daughters in the fire. But why did they do this? I don't know if you've ever looked at some of the scientists who've studied this. Child sacrifice, if you look at the historical accounts, most historical accounts were from enemies used as propaganda during wartime. So if you go to to Carthage, where it wasn't them writing about it. They didn't write about themselves sacrificing at all. It was other people during wartime writing about them. A lot of people think it was just propaganda, that they weren't really doing it. The grave sites in Tophet, I think that's Carthage. In 2010, Schwartz and his colleagues used dental remains from 540 individuals to argue that the site was not primarily for ritual child slaughter. The team argues that many tooth fragments found at the Tophet were actually developing tooth buds from the jaws of fetuses and stillborn babies who could not have been live sacrifices. They go on to explain the reality of what they're doing is not much different than what we do with abortion. We just have better technology. So when they had a child they didn't want, they'd offer it up. It wasn't that they were just doing some weird religious thing. There was a reality behind it. Okay, and we do the same thing today.
It's a wicked reality.
It is a wicked reality, but the point I'm making, it's not any different than what we're doing for abortion today. We're just better at it.
Yeah.
We're more deceptive and it looks a lot cleaner and it doesn't come across the same way. I'm always trying to study this, realizing people from thousands of years ago aren't that different than us. They're just as connected to their kids. It was probably a really hard decision. It wasn't just, I'm just going to kill this baby because I want to please this God. There was a reason for it and a reality behind it. We're doing the same thing, it just looks a little different. We're sacrificing kids, and it's called abortion today, and it feels better in our minds, but it's still sacrificing kids. We do this out of convenience today. We call it abortion. Israel did it out of convenience as well. If they had a child they didn't want, or if it had a condition that they didn't want to deal with, they'd offer it up and they'd get rid of the child in much the same way we do today. No, I'm not condoning this at all. I hope it's not coming across that way. I'm not condoning it. What I'm doing is showing a similarity to today and what they were doing. It's just differences in cultures. Their culture handled abortion that way, sacrificing. We handle abortion in a hospital and kind of hide it from ourselves.
Either way, it's murder.
Either way, it's murder.
Of innocent lives.
Yeah, that's the major exception we have with murder today in America.